In today's video, we have several NHL injury updates. All kinds of players going down for several weeks at a time. Plus, the Calgary Flames have extended young defenseman Rasmus Andersson on a fairly substantial contract. We'll jump into all the latest news coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of news updates to discuss today, including a pretty big signing for the Flames as well as several injuries. Let's get started with the Flames news that they've signed defenseman Rasmus Andersson to a 6-year contract extension valued at about $4.5 million per season. Now, Rasmus Andersson's 23 years old, has been in the Flames organization for some time, put in about 2 solid years in the American Hockey League. He's on his second full year in the NHL now. He did have some NHL games prior to that, but last year he stuck with the Flames for the whole year, on pace to do so again. Obviously, they're very pleased with his development, and they see him being a good piece of their top 6D for many years to come. They do buy a couple of years of his UFA status with this contract as well. Certainly gives him a lot of cost certainty, but I do think as well that this contract does pose a little bit of risk. Obviously, he's not as established as some other guys just coming out of his ELC. Would have been a restricted free agent soon if he wouldn't have signed this extension, and he's certainly not putting up big offensive numbers, but $4.5 million isn't really all that risky, I guess, in a way, but it's just, so young, it's hard to say exactly how this will work out. I certainly hope for the Flames that it does mean that it works out for them, but I certainly would also think that it probably means that either Hamonic or Brody, that we've discussed for some time, likely doesn't come back next year, whether they leave as a free agent or possibly get dealt sometime here before the NHL trade deadline. But either way, let me know what you think of this Rasmus Andersson contract with the Flames. Is it a good deal? Is he a solid, young enough defenseman here to earn that contract, or do you think there might be a little bit of risk involved as well? Now, as I mentioned, we have several key injuries from around the NHL. Flyers defenseman Shayne Gostisbehere had to have a knee operation and will be out for about a 3-week span. Could be a little bit longer, but he'll be out of action. The Flyers have a very tough schedule coming up here. Critical time of the year for Philadelphia if they're going to make a push here to be a little bit more solid spot to make the playoffs. So that's certainly big for them. But Gostisbehere hasn't been having the greatest year. Another player who's had some uncertainty around him, whether it be the trade rumor mill or being a healthy scratch before. So we'll see if how much this impact will have on his ability to play, and whether or not he can come back stronger and get his game back on pace here, because clearly the Flyers need him, and they have, like I said, a critical time coming up. By the time he does return, we'll be a little bit closer to the trade deadline and have a better idea of where the Flyers stand come playoffs. Now, another big time injury is San Jose Sharks captain Logan Couture, who's going to be out of action for about 6 weeks, possibly a little bit longer. The Sharks are certainly not having the year that they expected to, and many expected around them as well. Clearly they're down low in the standings, which is not good for not only them not making the playoffs, but they don't have their first round pick as well, which will go to Ottawa for that Carlson trade. That could prove to be quite devastating, and now their captain goes down in a critical time of year when they need to really get a push on to get back into the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how GM Doug Wilson handles this, if he goes maybe make a trade to see if he can find another player to come on and really help elevate them, or is he going to end up going into selling mode because their season is too far gone, which I do think is the more likely scenario here. Unfortunately for the Sharks, things are not looking good. They need to get a win streak together, and they need to do it quickly if they're going to have any hope of making the playoffs, and doing that without their captain is certainly going to prove extremely difficult. Team Canada captain from the World Juniors, Barrett Hayton's back in the NHL, and he's back with the Arizona Coyotes. He's been recalled to go back to the big squad after returning home after the World Junior Tournament, where he captained Canada to a gold medal, had a tremendous tournament, and he's going to be about week to week before he can play again. As many of you probably know if you follow the tournament, he did suffer a shoulder injury. He had a mild grade shoulder separation, which is going to keep him out of action here for a little while. It's not too serious, so he shouldn't be out for very long, so we'll see how he recovers and gets back playing in the NHL. It'll be interesting to see how that experience of captaining him, playing a big role in helping win a gold medal, might impact how he does at the NHL, because his results in the early going of this season was certainly only mediocre at best. So we'll see how that impacts Hayton moving forward here. The Montreal Canadiens did get some good news that Bredan Gallagher is able to return. He's been activated off injury reserve. Of course, this is a critical time for them right now on a bit of a losing streak. The playoff race is getting further and further away, so getting Gallagher back will help, but they have several other players out, so it's like you lose one, you get one back type of deal, and really the Montreal Canadiens have been decimated by the injury bug. Kovalchuk certainly come on, is helping play a little bit, it's helped some. We'll see how getting Gallagher back in will mix here as well, but clearly the Habs are in a difficult spot. spot. Even though Montreal's in a tough spot with the schedule and the standings, getting Gallagher back is always going to be a bonus and help get them going energy-wise and hopefully on the score sheet as well. Now lastly here, I want to touch on the Winnipeg Jets. Defenseman Dmitry Kulikov's able to return from injury, which caused them to have to open up a roster spot. So they have placed Logan Shaw on waivers. We'll find out noon Eastern time tomorrow if he is claimed or not. Otherwise, he'll likely be assigned to their American Hockey League affiliate. But Kulikov returns, and another Jets defenseman who certainly has a lot of question marks around him is Dustin Byfuglien. Byfuglien is nearing the phase of his rehab with his ankle injury that he's likely going to be needing getting on the ice soon and testing it out. And we'll see here if he can get to the point where he can get on the ice with Winnipeg or how that's going to work. Byfuglien had requested to have an arbitration case against the Jets over the lost money due to being suspended. That is not completely clear. We've had several reports recently that communication between the two sides have improved, but it doesn't mean that they're real close to coming to a resolution here and getting him back. But clearly Byfuglien and the Jets are going to have to come to some terms here soon enough, as since Byfuglien will likely want to be able to resume playing, he's going to have to get on the ice, start rehabbing the injury from that perspective, and see how it's making out and get into game shape. I'm not sure how long that's going to take. Byfuglien's a big man. It very well could take some time to get himself to the point where he's in game shape, because clearly I'm sure being off injured or rehabbing an injury, especially a foot injury where you're not as mobile and active, certainly not going to be great for his cardio and his overall health. So we'll see what happens here with Buff and when he returns, and if he and the Jets can get a resolution in place soon so he can hopefully start rehabbing with the team. But I guess we'll have to stay tuned for how that's going to play out. That is all your latest updates for today. Of course, as always, we'll know your thoughts and opinions on everything discussed down in the comment section. What do you think of the Rasmus Andersson contract with the Flames? And how will some of these injuries impact their team's results and their general manager's decisions on how they might approach the NHL trade deadline? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and we'll continue the conversation. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.